They gave us a photograph of the three boys, which was clicked from that documentary, highly pixelated. Can you find them in India? Something which is near impossible. In 3.5 months, we had the three boys in front of the client. And the very first day, I was put into the deep sea, and I was sitting all day at one of the 5-star hotels over there, assisting somebody who had come here for a huge internal fraud matter. In one such case, we remember there was a Punjabi family, and from somewhere in the interiors of Punjab, when we did the visit to the family house, we saw Ferrari parked in the porch. Or was it the most difficult decision of this 60 years journey? The courage to take responsibility of one more person. And the first hire was the biggest and the most difficult decision of our life. Clients come and tell us that the reason we like working with you is that because you have the art of saying no. Nobody in this industry says no to anything. Everybody takes everything. You all come and tell us, no, I would not take it up. That's what we appreciate, and we respect you for that issue. That's why it has helped us a lot.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Lawyer podcast. My name is Jana Krishnan. I'm your host and the founder of the Daily Lawyer. And today's episode, we are going to speak about something that we've never spoken about in our podcast, and that is touching in the world of investigations. You may ask, investigations, what is that? That's what you're going to hear in today's conversation. I have with me Mr. Mukesh Bajaj.
Hello.
He's the co-founder and director of CIGAER. CIGAER is an acronym for 6 veritable pillars of this organization. What is CIGAER? What does it stand for? And what really led to this organization? What does it do? And so many stories around investigations that you are going to feel we are in the middle of a reality show. So thank you for being here. We've been chatting and I've already heard so many stories. So I'm really excited to wait, stop talking. Let's put on the camera and start recording. Welcome to the TV.
Thank you, Jana. Thank you very much.
So I did say very little. Yes, you're the co-founder of CIGAER. It was called, I didn't say that. We will say that. That is called CreditCheck Partners.
That's right.
But before you reached here, what has been your journey like? How did it start?
Well, journey started way back. This is my 31st year in my career. Journey started way back in 1995 when I graduated from a business school here in Mumbai and secured a campus placement at an investment banking firm called Fountainhead Capital. First few years of my life was basically all to do with finance and equity research and running after deals and syndications and all that. But the timing of my entry and timing of the whole business at that point of time was a little tough. We couldn't see the reading on the wall when we joined this, because by the time it was 1996, we had the big subprime related equivalent of Asian crisis, which we had the Asian financial crisis of 1996, when the tiger economies like Indonesia, South Korea, Malaysia almost went into bankruptcy, leading to a major turmoil in the entire financial services industry, which did not even spare India. Of course, India was not as impacted, but we did have a lot of issues here. So the first few years, it was tough. It basically led to finally a decision by my boss that let's close it down. We can't really continue. Thank you very much. And I decided to do something else about my life. So in the interim that I didn't know what to do, I took up an assignment as an experimental basis of becoming an executive assistant to a managing director of large manufacturing corporation comprising of a company called Salora International, which they had Ericsson, Panasonic and a whole lot of other businesses. And I worked with him for a period of good 9 months as an executive assistant to the managing director. Great exposure, great person, took me around everywhere. He used to be part of some Chamber of Commerce's, also part of the council for regional council for the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also the chair of the SAC Chamber. Whenever there used to be delegation, I used to be exposed to him and exposed with him into all those. And that basically helped me get a lot of insights into how people move around, network around. Just kind of an impact that stayed with me for a long. So digressing a little back, when I used to be part of financial services, we used to have a company in Hong Kong, which was a partner firm for us. One of the colleagues over there was hit by the financial crisis much earlier. And he went and joined a cross-border investigations company. And he had an assignment in India. So we got a call from him saying that I have some assignment in India. Can you guys help us? I went to my boss and said, this is what he's talking about. My boss simply asked me, are we going to get paid for it? I said, it gives you a handsome number. It's there in the request. I said, that's the number, let's go for it. And I was the person who executed that assignment. It happened with that one.
So that was your start into the world of investigation.
I really did not know it was investigation until then. Let's put it that way. I did my research job. My job was to fact find. So I went to the office of the registrar of companies. I went to some libraries, CMI, and during those days used to be a library called CMI. Used to maintain hard copies of newspapers. With research over there. Went to the High Commission, the British High Commission, got some documentations over there, spoke to 10 people. I did my stuff as we usually do the research part. After we have submitted our assignment, the guy said, great job, but there's too many things that you have put in the report, which I may not necessarily have a use for it. So don't spend too much effort doing that bit. Because that's not our focus. Our focus is purely on reputation, background, track record, genesis, connections, networks. I said, okay, it's very helpful. And, by the way, this particular thing was on large investigations, which was basically a cross-border matter. This company was involved in some defense deals, and that deal went sour, and that's what part of it. I said, wow, that's serious. Like this, we started doing a lot of such assignments for him, and that actually helped my boss keep afloat during the first few years because of the turmoil in the industry. This experience helped me understand a business which I was not exposed to. If I have to be very nosing around.
But did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I simply loved it. I felt this was absolutely great, and something that I felt would be lovely to do. But that party did not last too long, and we had to shut down, and I took up the job as the executive assistant. Down the line on my job, the same gentleman called me again, and very funny how he reached out to me. He didn't have my phone number. Mobiles were not available.
So this is the late 90s?
This is the late 90s, 1997 to be precise. He sent a fax to one of our board members in my previous company saying, only 5 lines. I am so-and-so. Ask Mukesh to call me on this number. That's it. So the director knew me. He called me on my residence number and said, so-and-so person has asked you to call him. This is the number. Talk to him. Well, I know this guy. I spoke to him. I went to meet up with him. He said, I have set up an office now in India. I want you to come and work with me. I said, I already have a job. But he said, think about it. I need some assistance. I need people here. So if you know the business, you know what we do. It'll be interesting for you if you want to. I said, okay, fine. Slept over it. I said, how do I handle this matter? I've just taken up a job as an EA, just getting the nuance of the job. I went to my boss and I said, listen, I'm sorry, but this is what has happened. This has come in. I'm in a dilemma. I really don't know what to do. What do you suggest? The boss was so cooperative and so nice. He simply said, you want to try it, go and try it. If you don't like it, come back. I still need you. I said, wow, brilliant. Can't get better than that. And I formally joined this business on 6th of July, 1998. And the very first day I was thrown into the deep sea, and I was sitting all day at one of the 5-star hotels over there, assisting somebody who had come here for a huge internal fraud matter.
Wow.
I mean, this was the period where the internet was just being discovered. Nobody really knew what to do, and information was still on those hard copies everywhere. This was a challenging business. But having done 1, 2, 3, 4 assignments in the initial period, what I realized is that I'm really loving it. I'm just really enjoying it. The proverbial I had my calling felt like I had my calling. So that was 1998, and worked with him for a period of 5 years. I worked with the same company for a period of 5 years. He was my boss until about 2001 when he went out and set up something else on his own. 2003, he called me into his own setup as well. And he said, why don't you come over here? And that's when I moved from the company that I first joined called Renful Associates, which later on was renamed into Hill and Associates. And that got...
Again, renamed.
Not renamed. That I left that firm to join a separate company called IntegraScreen, which was part of a two-company setup called Quest Research and IntegraScreen. So I went in about October 2003. Works with IntegraScreen, doing multiple jobs. My job largely was product setup, basically a new idea, get it from the ideation stage to actually start putting processes together to see and whether scale can work out, and then hand it over to the team that could basically run the whole show. Did multiple, about 8 or 9 different projects. A couple of them were super sellers. One of the project became a high seller, which basically led to IntegraScreen's sale much later down the line.
To Thomson Reuters.
From Thomson Reuters further down.
Oh, okay, later on. So then after all this, you went to Thomson? No.
So IntegraScreen got acquired and Thomson Reuters then said, "This had great show. You guys did a good job here. That's the door. Pack your bags, you're out."
So this was 2009. So first shift in your life came in 1997.
1997.
When you were just going to get married.
That's right.
The second shift came in your life in 2009.
That's right. When I was married, I had a 3-month-old baby, mortgage.
And a place which you had actually given your blood, sweat and sort of built it up.
Absolutely.
So now you're in 2009 wondering what the hell do I do? What happens then?
So it was, I took up some odd consulting assignments here and there. I couldn't do the same business because I was under obligation. I had some stakes in the odd jobs paid a little bit of what actually you were drawing earlier. The thing at that point of time is that while I had no intention of getting into a job, I had other colleagues who were similarly in my situation asked to leave. And they were very keen to get into a business and they roped me into it. I reluctantly said yes to it, but very short period, they got jobs elsewhere and they got...
Amazed at how your life seems to be a series of random coincidences. You know, these serendipitous...
And I said, you know what? I think so. Well, you and I can call it coincidence, but I've always feel that there is a design in this. There is a design that somebody is trying to guide you through a particular process and guiding you in a particular direction. And later on in our life, we have actually realized, you have met earlier, my co-founder, we've always have felt that there is always an invisible hand that has always been helping us. Because the kind of business that we do is very simple, where you need more than 100% of the hard work. But the most significant contribution comes for that little element of luck. If you do not have that, all the hard work is up. And that luck comes from that invisible hand we talk about. So we'll talk about that during the conversation. But coming back to this, so I was left alone now doing business. I didn't want to go back to now. My former boss, whose company was acquired, he had a small process which he had not sold. He asked me, why don't you become an external CEO to them? Then I'm back in the business. That's I'm back in non-conflicting business and having a comfortable next 10 months of not worrying about paying the bills. So that's I did for a period of 10 months. During that 10-month period was an important process where my co-founder, who happens to be a childhood buddy of mine, convinced me, pushed me hard to actually join hands with him to get into this business formally. He got into this business in 2001 purely because he came to assist me on a matter. He liked it. He continued. And whenever I used to get assignments that we couldn't do or we couldn't take up for conflict reason or whatever, I used to recommend his name to my clients and say, there's a guy who can help you. Please feel free to talk to him. And when I moved from Hill and Associates to IntegraScreen, which was not an investigation company, it was largely a data company, all in my investigative mandates and everything went to Nitul. So Nitul created a nice sizable structure or created a nice, decent sized business for himself. And his point was, if I can get business purely on your recommendation, if you go out to the marketplace, imagine the kind of business you can bring up. I said, you've been biased, you've been kind of...
being a friend.
Friend, exactly. And I said, let's see. It took him a while to convince me and I finally got convinced. But I said, listen, I'll put a stop loss situation. In 1 year, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to quietly exit and go and take up a job. I will get a job that's not difficult because this industry is quite new. He said, okay, no problem. So we started our journey in this business formally in April of 2010. We did about 15, 16 assignments in the first 6 months. And by the time it was October or November of 2010, the writing was clearly on the wall. This is going to be our future. And back in those days, we had to apply for incorporation and all. It wasn't immediate and instant. So we applied, we put our papers together, we applied to ROC for licensing and for registration. ROC took his own time. And finally, we got the certificate of incorporation. And it turns out the certificate of incorporation was dated 14th of February 2011. I said, this is a joke. Between me and Nitul, we actually lived in the same apartment block. I'm on the 11th floor, he's on the 5th floor. So we ended up spending a lot more time going around, meeting up with clients, meeting up with sources, doing investigations. The word in the family on both the sides were, you guys are spending more time with each other than spending with your wives. What is happening over here? I said, it's just a new business. You got to have to do it. So when there was very, I don't want to say this on camera, but still, like, you are each other's wives, by the way. Okay, fine. Okay? But the final nail in the coffin on that statement came in with the incorporation, which happened to be on Valentine's Day. I said, this is a love child. CreditCheck Partners became our love child of...
And now you've grown it, now it's
grown it. So when we started, Najana, hand on the heart, we never imagined anything of this sort.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm very proud of the way it has turned up. All we wanted to do is maintain our income stream and a standard of living and just kind of do good work. Help clients do good work. One thing led to another thing, and it just expanded. Today, if you ask me, did I have a business plan? Did I have a documented journey report, what you're going to do? I said, the answer is no. We simply said, we will give our best to every single opportunity that comes to us and let's see how it goes. We had a broad agenda that we have to go in this direction. We had a huge list of stuff that we will not do. Okay? But we knew what we will do, and what we knew we will do only that. We got assignments for security, got assignments for doing assessments and all. That's not our capability. Then we said no to all that. And having worked with the same clients that we have worked now for almost 16 years, the clients come and tell us that the reason we like working with you is that because you have the art of saying no. Nobody in this industry says no to anything. Everybody takes everything. You all come and tell us, no, I will not take it up. That's what we appreciate, and we respect you for that issue. That's why it has helped us a lot. Yeah. If you ask me a question, I'm leading you into a question over here. What is the most difficult part, or what are the most difficult decision of this 16 years journey?
What is the most difficult journey of the 16-year journey?
My first hire.
That's a conversation in itself.
And we were working together. We were literally working 14, 16 hours a day. We didn't have the courage to take responsibility of one more person. And the first hire was the biggest and the most difficult decision of our life. And once that happened, thereafter it became very easy. So that first employee continues to work with us.
Wow.
Yes. Continues to work with us. And that one has now become 37.
Congratulations.
That's what.
Who was your first? Who was your first?
Gentleman called Vijay Sonpar.
And who was your first hire?
Vijay Sonpar came in to us from Citibank. Before that, he used to work with IntegraScreen. I knew him before. And as a researcher, so he used to do a lot of research work. He went into Citibank's AML team doing a lot of research work over there.
I think AML, anti-money laundering.
Absolutely. So IntegraScreen, when I mentioned to you about IntegraScreen was set up during 2001. And if you remember, 2001 was the unfortunate period when exactly, the whole thing that happened in the United States and the incidences that happened, and the landmark enactment of the USA Patriot Act. The USA Patriot Act gave a lot of opportunities or created a lot of opportunities for companies like ours to get into the business of screening investments or screening people for their source of wealth or doing KYC on people who do banking industry checks. What USA Patriot Act also did was they amended the Banking Secrecy Act to see if there is a terrorist incident, money is going to be flowing from the banking channels. We want to screen the banking channels to see that only legitimate and good intention money only flows around. So that process basically led to what we call it investment screening or KYC or anti-money laundering, what we know about it today. But back in the days, we used to call it investment screening products. And that's led to this whole company called IntegraScreen, which purely because of their size and the scale and their reach in the banking industry, they were acquired by Thomson Reuters.
So I was saying it's already, I'm already seeing the trend of following the breadcrumbs. Yours. But maybe, because we have so many stories and I'm very interested in going to your stories. You said something earlier, which I think is a great place for us to start this section of the podcast, where you said investigations is not difficult. It is just common sense being used
consciously.
Yeah, I think it sounds, really simple when you put it that way, but we know it's anything but simple.
It is one of the most creative stream of life. You need to have awareness of what's around you. You need to have awareness of what's available. Where can you pull the information from? What buttons to press, and everything. The data, the information, everything is in the environment. What you see around you is basically data. It's job of people like us to collate all the data to create information out of it.
Thread it together and make the pattern. But one of the things that you are particularly strong in, which, and we think it's in public domain, it's on your website as well, is that the geographical area that you operate in, which is the subcontinent. So India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, just Bhutan, this subcontinent. Now, in this subcontinent, it's not as if we are all the friendliest neighbors. And we also are a fairly opaque, it's a fairly opaque ecosystem that you're working.
Correct.
So maybe this is more of a high-level question, but how is it that you manage to do all of these things where you say, okay, data is available, etc., etc. In this entirely opaque and often quite a high-stress sort of politically charged environment.
So it is basically, the reason for that is India was already getting into a zone where a lot of investments was flowing in. A lot of companies had already set up offices over here, and a lot of companies had interest over here. And there were a lot of service providers servicing companies. Between Nitul and I, we were very clear on one thing, is that when we started off is that we will focus on businesses that is coming into India from outside of India. Indian businesses are also absolutely welcome, but our focus would be more on getting business from outside. If we have to go and offer our services outside, either we go to the large firms, large companies and banks in the world and probably get success with 1 or 2 assignments a year, or we go to all the players in our space, offering them services in India and telling them what we have done, and then getting a part share in every single assignment that they do. But when we actually did that and knocked on the doors, majority of them said, we already work in India, we already have our chosen partners, we'll put your name on the list, and great to know you guys. It wasn't a very encouraging kind of a response. It wasn't something that, I'm waiting for you, come tomorrow. That wasn't happening. That something has to be done to change this. While I used to be a part of IntegraScreen, we always struggled in getting assignments or getting information in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Pakistan. And I had already visited Nepal, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka as part of my job at IntegraScreen. I knew the terrain, I knew what was happening around over there. And I simply said, Nitul, let's try and focus in these markets because everybody struggles over there. We'll have some Indian clients also wanting to do it. And we will see what we can do. So we traveled to Bangladesh for a mere $300 assignment. We ended up spending a lot more money and trying to understand everything. And we did something very similar for Sri Lanka as well. The following year, this is 2012 2011, when we traveled to the markets in the West, we only offered them Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Nepal. And everybody said, great, where were you guys? Was a kind of a welcome for us. And during the conversation, when we exchanged cards, he said, but you are based in India. Why can't you help us in India? I said, we'll be very happy to help you in India. So India kind of became like the backdoor entry. It was focused more on the other countries. So now that we started selling the other countries or focusing on other countries, that we had to master it. We had to do it. I completely agree. It wasn't a straightforward place to go. We ended up going Bangladesh at the time when the caretaker government was in play. There was gag orders on a lot of freedom of speech. Politicians were behind bars. Majority of the leaders were in exile, either in Thailand or in Singapore or in UK. And it was a tough period, but we still got things done. We managed to get a lot of connects in the industry. We managed to get a lot of networks established. And that basically helped us achieve what we wanted to achieve. To be very honest with you, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka have been two countries which have given us the recognition. And India we were already there in India. It just helped us amplify the India initiatives.
But you did, before we all started recording, we were talking about, I was telling you this incident which Samir, who's behind the camera, told me earlier about, someone who was absconding, we could not find him, and you came in, gave so many stories. Like, I think one thing led to the other. What is CIGAER and what does it stand for, and how did CreditCheck Partners become CIGAER?
So yes, you're right. The company still continues to be called CreditCheck Partners. The transition from CreditCheck Partners to CIGAER actually happened very recently, about 3 years back. 2023 is the time when we decided, remember I told you about our focus was on business coming from outside. In 2022-23, we decided now let's push focus into Indian markets and try building up our India book. So that's when we went out to the marketplace. We spoke to a few of our sources or people who were well-wishers of ours and told them this is exactly what we do and this is what we want to do now in the market. And a couple of them said, boss, your name CreditCheck Partners doesn't do justice to what you do. You need to at some point of time think about a rebrand. And we were very reluctant in a sense. We've been holding on to this brand for now since 2001 to all the way there. It doesn't make any sense to change. But when you keep hearing this from your client side again and again and again, it hits you hard. I said, you have to finally bite the bullet. We have to basically do something and do something about this. And we thought, okay, fine, let's change the name. We came up with very cliched names for businesses. And everybody said, no, it doesn't sound good. This lacks punch, no recall factor, anything. CIGAER is a term. By the way, CIGAER is spelled as CIGAER, but we pronounce it as CIGAER. CIGAER was a very loose term that we used to use for the work that we do, especially on the transaction diligence side. And it came up on one of the offsites that we have had back in 2019. And we said, we use CIGAER as the name of the company. And a couple of guys said, CIGAER, while the spelling is different, it sounds more like a smoke or something of that sort. It may not necessarily be the appropriate name. But yes, it is intriguing. It's mysterious. And it's easy to pronounce and easy to remember name. All that is positive is there. But negative is there. It's basically smoke. I said, why don't we arrest or address this smoke by arresting the thought process by adding the tagline, actionable intelligence. So CIGAER logo has a tagline called actionable intelligence. And what essentially CIGAER is, what we do, as you rightly said, the values of our process and of the work that we do. Where C stands for compliance, I stands for integrity, G stands for governance, A stands for accountability, E stands for ethics, and R stands for reputation. And the color of the R in this entire acronym is red because we focus on the red flags. So hence we basically amplified the red factor to it. So CIGAER with the logo, actionable intelligence, and the red color.
Lovely. I love how, this sort of, the acronym gives me a lot of opportunity to ask you.
I walked into your trap, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. but tangential question. So let's just start with the CA on compliance, because I want you to tell me this story because I think it was just fab. Okay, you had somebody, a lawyer, come to you for a compliance issues, and that was because there is a testament, as in there is a inheritance issue. X person was the next legal heir, but that person's absconding. So now it has to go to somebody else. But compliance requires that you need to ensure that that X is actually not there. So they came to ask you, please help me to identify that X is actually not there.
That's correct. So the background of the matter is the lawyer came to us saying that we have an inheritance matter that we are actually currently dealing with. There's a bit complication. There was one of the person who was should have been part of the inheritance table, left house about almost 19-20 years back. And there is no sign of him. The family tried searching for him. They couldn't find him. And he's nowhere to be found. But we can't just take that on face value. We have to establish that he's actually not there. Because in order to basically take the whole thing forward, without this, we cannot do it. I want you guys to take up the assignment and find this guy, if you can. I said, okay.
Or establish that he's not there.
So actually, to be very, it was more sounded like if we're just doing it because we have to do it.
Compliance.
Kind of. You can call it compliance. But as the work started off and we started following the trail, we ended up finding the guy. And we found him for 19 years. That guy was nowhere to be found. And suddenly we found the guy and we said, here is your guy. Here is his background. This is where he stays. This is what his background is. This is what he's done in the last 19 years. Now go ahead and do it. The client was very happy that you found it. It's a great job you're doing it. But he said, now my work has changed now.
I didn't add it to my work.
But there's some connection that a lot of our clients have come to us to find things. And we've been able to be very successful. When I told you about the third partner in our business, or the invisible hand, this is where it is. And this dovetails into a story that I want to bring forward. And it's a story which is in the public domain. It's a story that we are very, very proud of. It is a story that has given us a lot of recognition in the world. It's a story of a large high street retailer in London being featured in a BBC documentary of investigative journalism called Panorama, which to a large extent is considered as one of the most authentic, reliable documentary title. In 2007, Panorama went on air claiming that Primark, which is a high street retailer, it employs child labor in their back offices in India or manufacturing setup in India. And that story went into the world. Absolutely. Primark, which is a subsidiary of a very large Fortune 100 corporation called Associated British Foods. They were they received a lot of reputation loss. They had lots of inquiries on them to protest and unnecessarily trouble for them. The client came to us, not directly, because I mentioned to you we work with a lot of other investigative firms in the world. The client came to us through another investigative firm in London with a very simple ask. They gave us a photograph of the three boys, which was clicked from that documentary, highly pixelated. Can you find them in India? I want to remind you and the others who are listening to us, 2008, we had the internet building up. We had no Aadhaar. We had no facial recognition softwares. We had no list of all our citizenship. Neither did we have ID cards. Here the ask was to find children between the age of 9 and 12 years working in some sweatshop and finding them with the sole agenda or intention to find from them how did they get the garment in their hand, because the client was interested in finding out which of his suppliers in India was responsible for this. So they wanted to basically find out where the source of the leak is. We literally ran on a complete wild goose chase, like searching for something is near impossible. We told the client initially that 1.4 billion people, where do you want me to start? I don't know. I said, well, we know all that, but we need to do something about it. So we devised a methodology to basically do something about it. Ultimately, we were very clear, this is not going to happen. It's a non-starter. We did one project and we found some confirmation, but nothing about the children. We gave it to the client and client said, listen, you seem to be going in the right track. If I give you more budget and give you more time, would you be able to do it? Now it became like a ego issue. Now it became like a self-respecting thing that, well, the client is willing to, he's patient. He's willing to give us more time. He's willing to give us more money. And he's happy to open his coffers for more resources. Then let's try to do something more. Cutting a long story short, the story is documented in a book that published in New York in 2020. That book is called The Modern Detective, and I can share more details about it. Everything is detailed well. Running the whole story, basically pushing, fast forwarding it for 3.5 months. In 3.5 months, we had the 3 boys in front of the client.
What?
But the icing on the cake, or let's say the shocker that the client got, was not the name of the supplier who has leaked the garments, but the children saying, in colloquial Hindi, I will say it, हम garments पे नहीं काम करते हैं, हम चप्पल जरी का काम करते हैं. एक गोरा आया, garment दिया, बोला ऐसा हाथ चलाओ, और हमारा फोटो निकाला.
Wow.
Basically, some journalist who perhaps was either contracted by BBC staged this entire episode of the 3 children working on garments.
My God.
And this story was then filed with BBC at the protest. And finally, after BBC conducting their investigation and everything, they basically offered an unconditional apology to Primark for that particular story. And said this footage was fake, footage was staged. It didn't end over there with Primark obviously wanted to actually go a step further because they received a lot of flack for what happened earlier. So they created a small documentary of their own to document the entire investigative process that was run by us and the investigation firm in London. So that also happened. So this was for us, it's a feather in a cap for us particularly for multiple reasons. One is whatever stories I've told you so far, I've never mentioned name of the client or any name. Here in this case, I can because it's a public domain story now. Client had asked us, go and talk about it. We'll be sending reference to you. And it was the first situation in my so many years of doing this business where there was waiver of confidentiality.
Yeah.
Because this was a story where the client wanted it to be known to more and more people. Because when you put an apology in the newspaper, nobody raised that. Everybody remembers the original story, but not the apology. So we were basically one of the companies or one of the set of people who could talk about it.
Really. This is truly like finding a needle in the haystack.
Well, when I met the chairman of the firm and I asked him, why did you go all out for this? The chairman of the firm said that he's a 60% owner of the entire firm. He said more than 50 of Primark, the ABF, which is a Fortune 100 company, that a big part of my life is about charity, about what gets donated out and what gets into supports for various things. Something of this sort stands like a black spot on my entire and my history. We needed to get to the truth. Because we were confident that we have process in place, we have strong audit mechanism in place to ensure that no children or nobody who's underage or who's not qualified for working is working on any of their factories in India or elsewhere in the world. So we were very confident about that. And when this whole thing came out, was a big surprise, which is why we wanted to address it.
Mm-hmm.
And what they really got in return was something that they never expected.
And this is just digging into the, we never think of doing investigations like this. And there was something else as well. I mean, we were chatting earlier, and this reminded me of your accountability and integrity sort of pillars. And maybe connected to what you just said. When we were just having a conversation about, corporate investigations, what all situations and investigation is useful for a corporate. And you mentioned this absolutely bizarre story that starts in Japan in 1940 and ends in 2000 something
14.
14
Yeah.
in India, I believe.
No, this is India is only featured over there because we were based in India.
All right. So there's a story that began in...
So the Japan story is very simple. 1940s, a Japanese steel company opened a bank account in Switzerland. If you recall, the 1940s was a period when World War had already started, and Japan entered the war in, 42 or 43, if I'm not mistaken, the Pearl Harbor thing that happened. This company had deposited money, and there was no claimant thereafter. There was nobody to operate it, nothing. Come fast forward 2014, one of the investigators from Switzerland reached out to us saying that this is what the story is. There's money sitting over here. I need to trace this company in Japan. Do you have any connects in the east of India who could basically help out with all this stuff? I said, I know somebody in Japan. Maybe I can patch you up with them. They can help you out with the whole thing. And we patched him up with the company in Japan. That gentleman from Switzerland flew to Japan, sat with the company, did the investigation, going layer by layer, who acquired the company afterwards, who inherited the company operations and all, and finally leading to the ultimate company, which actually is the rightful owner of the money. And when he actually knocked on the door and actually said, this is what it is and this is what is going to happen, the bank reached out to them. It was a huge bonanza, huge kind of a gift that came to the company which they were never even expecting it. So the investigation here is not only just to find out facts and try to prosecute people, but it's also sometimes to find the legitimate and rightful owner of steel.
Yeah.
Some inheritance or something that...
So, even this global, trans-global stuff you're able to do.
Absolutely.
In the subcontinent.
We work across more than 100 countries, Jenna. When I started off, we started working with other investigative firms in our space, in other markets, and they used to give work to us for India. This is an opportunity to us giving back work to them. These are small investigative companies who are master of their own countries. They know the terrain very well. They know how things happen. And many of the larger firms go to these small firms. Here we are able to take the work directly to the firm who specialize in that particular country and seek their assistance in getting work done for our client. Not only that, in fact, given the association and relationship that we have with all these firms, we actually quite often bring our clients on board. Full transparency with the firm over there so that they can deal with them directly as well. So that there is no information that is lost to Chinese whispers or something that gets lost in translation. Client can interact directly, absolutely fine with us. We are trying to change the model in how we actually engage with our customers.
One thing that, again, maybe because I'm also a lawyer and we've had multiple conversations offline, and we were discussing earlier about what is the time that, say, I'll keep it to lawyers, but then it is generic when somebody has to come to you, and this all of this came in the context of someone, you were sitting with a few lawyers, I believe, last week on a particular issue where, the other side was making a claim that this side's lawyers knew it was false, but it was a bit too late to come to you because, the claim was...
So what happens is many a times companies or clients go on an overdrive thinking that they can do a lot on their own. And in their zeal to do a lot on their own, sometimes they make mistakes. Sometimes they alert the opposite parties. And sometimes they touch upon certain topics and certain areas of investigation, which loses this element of surprise. See, what is the biggest arsenal in an investigator's toolbox? It is the element of surprise. To catch the other side completely unaware of what's happening and then get what you want. But if the opposite party is completely aware of something happening like this, you are not going to get success because then defenses are high, people will not cooperate, or people will start giving you false information. Then you're being led into a track which is not the natural way of actually getting into it. So we always tell our client is that if you are sitting on a complex matter, it serves you right by having a chat with somebody like us under no obligation basis. Come talk to us, we will help you. You can engage with us subsequently after you've done your bit. but do take certain precautions while you're doing whatever you're doing.
So give us some examples.
So I'll tell you a classic case is a case in internal fraud matters. Internal fraud matters, company discovers that, oh, this guy has done this. They've got to know about it. They confront him and then say, "Abhi resign karo," and finish it off. And matter is gone, the guy is gone, they're not talking about to anybody. And finally, the resources that is being used by him has been reallocated to somebody else, including the laptop.
Correct.
And everything.
Yeah.
3 months or 6 months down the line, the client gets to know what we found out about that gentleman and we asked him to go was only tip of the iceberg. The rut runs more deeper. He's done a lot of other things and he's affected us, he's impacted us, he's got into liabilities for us. We need to now figure him out, where is he gone, and then try to recover all that. And the first thing they come to us, now we want to investigate this is what has happened. I said, what have you done so far? I said, we found it, we confronted him, he resigned and we let him go and that's it. We gave him his full and final settlement. I said, if you're given full and final settlement, how are you going to recover? Okay, if you find out evidence of what he's done and what he's done was wrong and against the interest of the company, I need you to give me his computer. Oh, that has been reallocated to somebody else. But what happens in such cases, the evidence, if there was any sitting on an electronic device, has now been erased or has been overwritten or has been basically, nobody knows what happens. So what is important is that you need to be very careful of how you treat a situation where somebody has confessed and how do you get him out of the system.
And
We tell our clients that if there is somebody willing to resign, try not going with a resignation. If you have the ability to terminate him, please terminate him.
but that's the opposite of what most people do. So why do you?
The reason is that if you're allowing the person to resign, you're basically absolving him of all his crime or whatever he's done in this company. And you're giving him full and final settlement. And you also give him an experience certificate and a character certificate. What happens is, see, in India, the situation is a little different. If somebody has done a fraud in my account and I ease him out and let him go, he goes and does a fraud in another company. And that company finds out that this guy had done wrong things in my company, but I did not take any action against him. Sometime, somewhere down the line in the future, there will be something that they will come after me also and saying that because you did not take action, I got defrauded. So you are also morally responsible for the fraud that happened in my company. So I am perhaps exposing myself and the company to liabilities coming out of other acts that this guy does. In the West, it works that way. So I'm obligated to investigate and obligated to report that person who was basically guilty. But I chose not to, which means I am hand in glove with him. This is hypothetical. It can be interpreted that way.
Yeah.
I'm at least inviting nuisance value.
So you're saying that a lot of times, I mean, companies, the reason why they ask you to terminate is because they don't want to be seen as terminating, right?
Exactly. No.
On the books.
And moment you ease him out, the moment you allow him to resign, you basically now saying that you basically are renouncing your right to go after him tomorrow. If you discover something big in your company that he's done, you have renounced your right to go after him.
Yeah. There are ways on the legal side, but I know what you're saying. Perceptionally, that is
Exactly.
from a perception level. But
Which is why we tell the client is that don't ease them out. We can suspend the person and whatever it is, but don't ease them out like.
I wonder, because what I hear you say is the time that you should come to us is when there is any sort of complicated matter. And when I say you, it could be a lawyer, a general counsel, a CEO, CXO, promoter, whatever, or an individual as well. But sometimes, no, we don't really think, and cost also is a very big impediment. That we feel, oh my God, we're too expensive, there's no guarantee. How do you deal with these kind of very valid considerations?
I said this earlier also. I said it's not about for taking up an assignment or actually engaging with us. Come and discuss at least. Maybe if you do not have budgets to spend on all these things because you think that matter is not very serious, it's very small, we'll be very happy to guide you. We'll be very happy to share our knowledge and tell you exactly what you should be doing. And more importantly, what you should not be doing.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that every client who comes to us has to pay us. We have the number of years of experience that is sitting with us. We have collectively more than 200 man years of experience sitting in a team. If we can help you, we'll be very happy to help you. We will not withhold our information. We happily share it with you.
You know, one of the places where I think it is very useful, and I don't know whether you do this, is this entire world of asset tracing. Especially, I mean, I have more of a litigation background, so I tend to see things from that angle. But asset tracing, is that something that you do? And if yes, then I would love to hear stories on that.
So one of the most super creative side of the business. When I say investigation is creative, there is a discipline. Asset tracing is right on top of the pyramid.
Okay.
It is difficult. It is complex. Yet sometimes you can get success out of it. Like, wow. So we have a theory in investigation is that before you actually start an investigation, you need to put all your options on the table. You need to document everything. You need to put, as the proverbial, put all the stones on the table and not stop until you have unturned the last. Many a times, let's say you have 20 stones on the table, 19 stones will not yield you any information, but the 20th one will give you gold mine. So you never, if you get the information in the first stone, don't stop. Continue till 20. So that's where the discipline lies.
Okay.
So that discipline is extremely important. When I say common sense being used more consciously is this. You don't start celebrating early in investigation. You might not necessarily be hitting the nail on the head, but getting some happiness out of some small consolation that you've got. No, you have to do the whole process. So one of the important qualities of an investigator is that he needs to be religiously following the process and not resting until he has investigated all avenues of a matter. Even if he gets early successes, it doesn't matter. So in asset traces work also, a lot of data is sitting in the environment. You will be surprised the kind of data that is sitting. And in our country, we have access to a whole lot of things at third-party places. A, there is a research process. B, there is a sub-registrar's office. C, there are other independent utilities and all, which all of them are sitting on information. And when you do asset traces, you basically knock on doors all this.
So what do you mean? A, there is a research process. So let's say I have an execution in the sense X company needs to pay me so much money. Now, I know that they are going to go into the court and say, I don't have money. So I come to you and say, listen, I want you to, would you be able to trace their assets and give me a realistic picture of how much money they have and what they have?
So the moment if the person say that I don't have any money, yes, we can establish a lot of things on this matter. When we start digging into the history of an individual, we get to know what companies has he been part of, what companies has he represented, what kind of vehicle. He lives somewhere in Mumbai, he lives somewhere in the country. When we visit this particular location, we find out that he has a Mercedes standing, he's got something else happening around over there. And you start building up the whole picture slowly by pace. I want to give you an example of very interesting case that he did for, there is a department in the UK government called the Homeless Department. Or at least that's not the actual name of the department, but it used to be called as the Homeless Department. Anybody taking asylum in the UK, you can knock on the door of the government and say, I'm seeking asylum, I have nothing, I need place to stay, I need some food to eat. The UK government is obligated to provide all that. But back in the days, I don't know whether they still do it, I have done a lot of these things earlier, but they would actually send the file to the country where the individual comes from to establish whether there is facts in what he is saying. Is he being persecuted over here? Is there any harassment happening from family? Is there anything else that is there that is the need for him to seek
asylum
there? And does he have any assets in the country? In one such case, we remember there was a Punjabi family and from somewhere in the interiors of Punjab. When we did the visit to the family house, we saw Ferraris parked in the porch.
Ferrari
parked on the porch. Back of the house, there was a single engine aircraft, the one that is used for pouring fertilizers on the farmland and crops. Sorry, there was a single engine aircraft also parked over there, and that individual who was seeking the
asylum
was the only child of the family. And there was nothing. It was just an abuse of the system that was being actually attempted over here.
Oh, goodness.
It happens. It's very, very common. So here, the person has lied on oath that he has nothing in India, but he actually has a whole lot of stuff over here. He may not be holding assets in his personal name, but there is a family which has assets much, much larger than what he claims that he doesn't have access to. Likewise, in a case of asset traces, when there is a default, many a times, people who default on assets or default on banking obligations, they try to hide their assets. They expense themselves by transferring assets to family members' name or outside their company, or they sell or put in a trust and all. Those things happen. But beauty is there is always a trail left behind. And if you are able to pick up the trail and actually establish that he's done it because he's gone on default, it is good enough for the court to say, yes, he had it, and he basically did it on purpose to basically...
avoid payment of what is rightfully due.
When we work with banks in the UAE, many of the banks have already written off the assets. Many of the banks want a closure on the cases. So we devised a new process for the banks is that apart from doing the skip tracing, when we trace the individual who is not contactable, we will also do the asset searches. And we do a step further. We knock on the door and talk to the person and say, I'm not here to collect assets. I'm not here to collect money. I'm not here to settle your obligation. I'm just here to establish a communication between you and the bank. And in such cases, we have seen in more than 70% of the cases, the matter got solved.
So did you say this also on the stage one during the... I think I remember hearing this what you just said. I think one thing that I want to dig into is, and you also answered it, but maybe I can ask you a formal question, is what does it take to be a good investigator?
Common sense, attitude. We have 37 people in this firm. We never hire anybody for skin sense. We hire people only for attitude.
So what kind of attitude? What do you need?
It's very difficult to actually
articulate that.
How do you define attitude? But we have a very non-conventional way of actually hiring. While we have the normal chat and we have the normal conversation, we do not have a formal interview process. We all will believe in an informal conversation with her. And what really gives away is the next step that we do is we ask them to write an essay. Literally an essay. The reason for the essay is very simple. You like my work. Why? Because you saw my report and you read my report and you were happy about it. What am I selling? I'm selling is a documented report. If I am not able to document my thoughts, my processes, my investigative methodology and findings in a proper manner, I may not be able to achieve. I may have done a fantastic job, but if I do not present it well to you, you will not understand what I've done. What we tell the candidates who come to us for it is that pick up a topic of your choice. Could be a movie, a book you read, could be a family member, could be your mother or father whom you love a lot, and write about that person. The idea behind all this, Jenna, is to understand how the person frames his thoughts, how the person expresses himself, and whether he has been able to express it properly or not.
And maybe even observation skills, right?
We are not putting him under any pressure by giving a topic. I said, you decide. If you are not able to speak about or write about something that you really love deep inside, then you won't be able to write anything about any investigation you do it. Very different way of actually hiring. And we've been lucky so far. We've not made any mistakes in that.
Yeah. And I believe you have your team has been with you for like 10, 15 years. Yeah.
Yes. So we, in this office here in Mumbai, we are our team of about 22. And out of that, 14 of them have been with us for more than 8 years. We have a total of 37 of us in the team. We have a 8-member team sitting in Ludhiana in North India.
Nice.
And all the 8-member team joined us in around COVID times, pre-COVID times, and they've been with us.
So the secret to keeping a team together is what?
Respect. Give them independence and don't throw them under the bus.
You know, this is bringing me back to your CIGAER each value system. whether it is integrity, accountability. And I think one thing, though, I also want to talk about a lot of things actually we spoke about before the camera was rolling, and there were such interesting conversations that I think it's important for us to bring it in front of the audience. We spoke about the whole world of integrity, and I was discussing with you my experience with having in an forensic investigative, framework. Let's not talk about my experience, but one of the things that you said, or that Avinash said, was also very important. It was your reputation is as good as your previous work. And I think that's something that you drill into your team.
It is a very ruthless world of service providers and ruthless world in the service industry largely. If you go to a Taj hotel and you had great experience, more likely to come and use it again. But if you went to a Taj hotel and you did not have good service and you just didn't like it, I bet you will not go there again and won't give it a second chance. The service industry, unfortunately, suffers from this, where loyalty is restricted to the last experience you had in that. And I'm just extrapolating that to even lawyers' work and even the work that we do. Our last project is the one that defines whether the client will come back to us or not. We are very lucky and we are very proud of our clients who actually support us. We've had our clients with us all through the years. We've not lost clients. And we only have repeat clients coming to us. So we have done something right. What's important to note over here is that this particular statement is so ingrained in all of our personalities is that we do not let down, or we do not give ourselves room for going easy on a particular matter. We try to give our best for every single assignment. I'm a founder of the fund. I have 37 people. I have great team members working on it, but I still roll up my sleeves and I'm on the case and I'm on the floor with the boys and actually working on it. That makes a difference. And especially when you said the why people are there together with you for so long is that when they see the top boss also coming and actually sharing their load with them, it does impact something. And that's what it is. Treat people with dignity, give them respect and tell them, I am there standing shoulder to shoulder with you and I am responsible for everything that you do. And I will never throw you on the bus. There is something somewhere in my office, there's a placard which says the buck stops here. And that's exactly what it is. I am responsible for everything that happens in this office. And there will never be a situation where anybody will ever say that you blame me for everything. I said, no, I'm the blame. It stops here. And that's what it is with people. With clients also, we face the client. I'm not saying we have done everything right. We've made mistakes also. And we have the ability to owe it up and tell the client that, I'm sorry, we goofed up. Okay? We were blindsided, something happened. It was not done in the right manner. I'm owing it to it and I will correct it. So no harm in saying that. But at the same time, the client also knows that if they give the job to us, they will get at least an honest, transparent answer. No winking this.
You're celebrating. This is actually, I can go down the path on this, but I'm mindful of our time. You're celebrating 16 years of your loved child, who's now officially, not officially an adult, but sweet 16. And
Sweet 16.
Yeah. And you have now rebranded CIGAER. It's been 3 years. I just loved the stories and how it linked back to each of these pillars that you stand for. 5 years later, 10 years later, when you hear CIGAER in the boardroom, what do you hope people remember you by? What do you hope to stand for in the board?
Authentic, quality and reliable reporting. Nothing in that report would be non-fact.
And there is something in the report. Let's just dig into that as well.
We stand by everything that we have done. There have been multiple instances where our reports have been tabled in various forums as well as in some courtrooms as well. And we have stood by.
So what do you mean by tabled?
So we have a process for doing a lot of open source research also. So there has been situations where our report has been made it to the courthouses in the US saying this is the most comprehensive KYC report.
That's lovely. Congratulations.
The great endorsement, absolutely. But the proceedings, and we are not in a position to share the names of the
Of course.
who actually done this. But that's what it is, The whole thing about being covered in a book that was published in New York. The publisher as well as the author had done his own diligence on us. And the whole story was published without us even knowing him. He reached out to us randomly and that's how we got published. I'm sure he's done his homework as well on us. He's also read enough things about us and spoken to a lot of things about it. In fact, the author has become such a good friend of ours that as of day before yesterday, he actually referred us to another client.
Wow. Congratulations.
This whole business is all about word of mouth referrals. And even if, when you were a lawyer, if I would ever come to sell stuff to you, you'll only say, I'll keep you in mind.
Yeah.
The entire business is trigger based. If you have a trigger, you'll think about me. If you don't have the trigger, you'll never think about me. You'll never come to me. Trigger could be a gap in some information. A trigger could be the need to know more something about. Trigger could be a fraud. Trigger could be a loss that you've had in the company. All that. But if you do not have those triggers coming in, you'll not think about me at all. But I want to put one point over here forward is, well, so long this business has gone only on triggers or basically flourished only on triggers. But as we move towards from a developing economy to a developed economy, there are a lot of applications where our services would be needed. I've had a few of my clients been very creative. In fact, majority of the work that we do in India, a lot of the credit goes to clients who are very creative in their application of our work. I've had my ex-bosses that I've spoken to you about, some of them come to us and say that, listen, I've got an offer to become a director on this company. I'm very careful. Can you run a check on that? And we actually run a check. We did it for him once, twice, and then we realized this could be a service line.
Nice.
So we offered this to all professionals, say that if you want to become a director of any company or if you got an offer, do check them out. And know
it's actually real.
Absolutely. And the other way also, when you're hiring an independent director or third party, ensure that he doesn't come with any baggages and all. Please come to us and we'll do a background check on that company or that individual rather. We had a client of ours we used to service a lot. We did a major investigations for them. And now he's on his own. He was selling an apartment in Delhi. And he said, Mukesh, I want you to run the background check on the buyers. It was small property, nothing expensive. I said, why are you doing this? He said, simple. I know what trouble I can fall into if I get into a transaction with wrong kind of people. I want you to tell me whether they are legitimate, their source of wealth is clean, and they are not somebody who has criminal history or criminal backgrounds or anything, that I'll get into trouble tomorrow.
Okay.
We've heard of a situation which came through another lawyer that we were talking to, who said that one of his clients sold a property to somebody. 3 years down the line, that particular person came into ED net. That particular person's accounts were frozen and all big transactions, all accounts were frozen. So his client, who had basically sold his property, his accounts were frozen and was asked to explain, why did you receive this sum of money from this person? While he had nothing to do with his laundering or any kind of ED activity that was being investigated over there, but he got roped in purely because he did a transaction with the wrong guy. And when we backtracked into the dates and we said, if you had done this background check on the person, you probably wouldn't have ever sold the property to her.
But how much time does it take? Because, all these are very time sensitive. So, even background check.
You'll be surprised.
Huh.
Something of this sort. If you want an answer, can be done in 48 hours.
Oh, is it?
You want a formalized report? We need 10 days.
No, I mean, initially you just want an answer, right? And then you can wait for the report.
48 hours is the fastest that I can do.
But 48 hours is very fast.
Absolutely. It's not rocket science. This point. What I'm trying to say is that you need to be prepared that you need to do this.
I'm just thinking there's so much of misconception or rather conceptions that we have ki yaar, nahi yaar, it'll take too long. Especially if you're an independent director or vice versa, you're hiring an independent, like, oh God, these people will take time, they'll take 1 month, 2 months, forget it. Let's start and then let the report come,
Having done this for so many years, again and again and again, it's like that person, we show fabric to a cloth merchant and he's like, yeah, ye fabric aisa hai. Like, it's like that. We've done so many investigations. Once we see the person, his profile, his background, we know exactly what buttons to press. We know exactly what doors to knock on. And you can get a good feel in a very short span. If there is push comes to shove. If you give me a leisure, easy time to do any kind of assignment, proper standard for us is about 12 to 15 days. None of our investigation or none of our assignments or diligence or background checks goes beyond that.
Okay, that's still not bad. Like, that's still not bad. That's within the hiring cycles reasonably accepted timeline.
We do more than 700 projects a year.
On this.
This day.
Okay.
700.
Yeah, but it's important, and I'm glad I asked you this question. It was not part of our initially thought of things.
I simply say,
no, yeah, come on.
Simply say that today's times, you don't know whom you're doing business with. You don't know whom you're doing dealings with, or whom are you getting associated with. Treat with care. Do some checks. Not for anybody, just for yourself. To get the comfort level. There are a lot of things that you can do yourself also. As I said, India is a brilliant country with so much information that is available. You just need to have the bent of mind and piece things together. But do your diligence without fail. Because if you fail to do your diligence, that transaction likely to fail.
I can keep going on. There are so many, many, many stories on CIGAER's website. It was a pleasure to do my research before we got into this conversation. Honestly, I felt like I was reading a book. I was going one story after the other.
Very kind of you to say that.
I mean, maybe I'm more interested in that. And I was like, grew up on Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew and all of those time pass. Yeah, so I don't know if anyone's reading that now, but so for me it was great fun, and I invite all of you in the audience to go and see that if you like it. But I have to move on to the next and the last section of our podcast, because mindful of the time, and this is a faster section. Okay, so I think I asked you everything that I wanted to ask you in the first section, but if I've forgotten anything, then you please tell me.
Okay.
But in this section, because Karan Johar has cornered the market on rapid fire, I can't call it rapid fire. So it's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When I ask you 5 of something, 4 of something, 3 of something, and these are typically like fast answers.
All right.
Ready? Okay. So 5 productivity tips that...
Time management. Document everything. Be transparent. Take your team along with you and report well. Yeah. Quick.
Very important nowadays to say wake up early.
Discipline is very, very important.
Yeah.
We get carried away with reels, we get carried away with some WhatsApp nonsense, and we get carried away with Facebook stuff. You need to discipline yourself. I'm not saying don't do Facebook, don't do reels, don't do WhatsApp, but give it finite time. That finite time is very important. I keep my WhatsApp off during the day when I'm working. I do visit once in a while, but I realize one thing is that you get carried.
Yeah.
Better if you do not set up an alarm or set up your mental alarm that you have to stop, you will get continued. Reels, I don't know whether you do reels.
Yeah, it's called doom scrolling. I learned this. Yeah.
My son calls it doom scrolling.
Yeah, I learned this from a senior counsel.
My 17-year-old tells me that's doom scrolling.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Anyway, so don't doom scrolling. I agree with you. But then maybe we are not, we are not weaned on the internet, right? So I guess it's different. Okay. 4 book. This is my favorite question because I'm a big book nerd that you'd recommend.
Read my book.
Yeah.
The Modern Detective by Tyler Maroney.
Yes. And we're going to, there is a copy of that book. Do you mind if we show it to the audience?
Yes, please. Feel free.
We're going to show you a copy of that book to the audience. I mean, having read the case studies, I really enjoyed it. This one.
Lovely. It's a lovely compilation of 10 stories from the last decade. Of some best investigators pieces over there, written by a investigator himself, Tyler Maroney. It's available on Amazon. It's available on various other platforms.
Yeah, but I'm going to read.
But it was published in, look at, we've never got things easy in our life. This book was published in January of 2020, and the news of this book got lost in COVID. We never got an opportunity to talk about it.
So is it only now that you're speaking about it?
Yeah, we speaking about it.
Yeah.
There was no launches or there was no meeting or anything of that sort. We were all sitting at home. We got the physical copy of the book only in 2021 because it was only published in New York.
Yeah. Oh, I see. So that's the first. What is the second?
I've read, but most of my reading actually happens on non-fictional stuff. Basically, my projects and cases. I learn a lot from when I read about projects and read about cases, case history, even litigations and stuff like that. Majority of, like you saw, avid book reader, my book reading actually happens not from my eyes, but from my ears.
Oh, you're an Audible fan?
No, I'm not an Audible fan either. When I say from my ears is that I'm like the fly on the wall when there's a conversation happening. I remember back in the 8th grade, SSC, math, it was the English poetry, and there was a couplet by, in a poetry written by Shakespeare, it says, lend thy ear to everyone and fill thy voice.
I mean, I think I should just make it my legs, but I do exactly the opposite.
So we as investigators, and we just plonk ourselves into a conversation or trigger the conversation and just listen. So all my knowledge gain, all my awareness and everything actually happens from my ears and not from my eyes. Yes, I do read newspapers. That is my first thing when I wake up in the morning, I have to have a newspaper in front of me. But that's where my reading stops. So that's it. But certain books that I've read which have really influenced me and I like, unlike the Paulo Coelho's
Alchemist.
And I truly believe in that phrase that he says, the universe conspires.
Yeah.
Really want something, universe does.
That's all. It's also your third partner in your business.
The third part.
Yeah.
Like that. There are a couple of other books that we read, is purely about the knowledge that we do. We have there's a manual of online research that is again published in the United States that we read, that we recommended reading for everybody in the team as well. And there are a couple of other books like the Atomic Habits book, Andrew's The Art of War.
Yeah.
These are a few books that I would recommend.
Yeah. Yeah, The Art of War is actually a deeply applicable book. Yeah.
Reading them again and again.
And I mean, if I start talking about books,
I can imagine.
I'm not going to say anything. 3 tips that you want to give young professionals. It could be even young lawyers, huh?
Believe in yourself, most importantly. Establish a goal in life. That's extremely essential. And the path could be multiple to achieve that goal. But the goal can't be multiple. Ensure that you keep trying different paths of achieving that. And if you feel that the goal that you selected earlier is not the right one, you can modify it. Don't be sentimentally attached to it. And most important to youngsters, particularly addressed to my son as well.
Huh? How sweet.
Don't get emotionally attached to non-livable or objects in life, inanimate objects. That attachment is reserved only for humans and people or animals, but not to inanimate objects.
Nice. No one said that, huh? So that's a new one. 2 life lessons you have learned in your life so far, through your life so far.
Keep your mouth shut when it's required to be shut. And most importantly, never cross swords with anyone.
Never cross swords.
Swords with anyone. Corporate world and generally life in particular, the world is around. What goes around comes around. And most importantly, be honest to yourself and be transparent.
I love that the theme of transparency that's coming through the podcast. It seems like it started with that and it's sort of ending with that.
It's helped us a lot. 2011, when we were just 2 of us and we had a client of ours, he said we have got 80 jobs to be delivered in 45 days. And we told the client that we do not have capacity, we can't take it up. And the client simply told us that we would have been surprised if you said yes to it and said, this is what we love about you guys. And that 80 jobs could have changed the fortune of this company. We said no to it. The transparency is absolutely essential because if you're not transparent, you're creating problems for your own self. And that problem will come and hit you tomorrow.
So, it's as a business owner, it's very hard to say no.
No, we have to. There is something, many years back, a friend of mine, he's a very dear friend of mine today as well. And I used to be called his guardian when he was studying in a institute over here. And we were discussing, and he would talk to me whenever he used to get a new job opportunity. And I would say, this is not for you, ye wo. He said, but job kaun dega tha mujhe, aap sabke liye na bolunga. But there is the power of no. The power of no is so profound and so strong. The more you say no, put yourself in that job situation. The more you say no, the perception of yours increases and tomorrow you get better options. That power of no is very important. And that power of no is what we say. When we say no to an assignment, we are not disappointing the client. We are basically creating a little bit more respect for ourselves with the client.
Yeah, but I want to contextualize when you say no, it means that your non-negotiables are so well defined that anything that comes within that is a no. It's not like I want to say no because I want to be, like those typical, like in Bollywood movies, you said the more you say no, the boy will run behind you. It's not from that angle, like, yeah.
The non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Right way. You need to have a defining line.
Yeah.
You can't do it, you can't do it.
Yeah.
There are many things in this, in the last 16 years that opportunities came to us, and we could have participated in an opportunity either by way of outsourcing the work to somebody else or getting somebody else to do it, or just being a conduit in between, or just being that, the broker or a banker. Get things together. That's not my job. That's not the ethos of the organization. That's not our preamble. We will not do it. We simply say, you want to get done? This is the guy who can get done. Please go talk to him directly. And I've got no financial interest in it. That's what it is. Sticking to your knitting.
Yeah.
Being very focused on what you do. We are very clear as what we can, and our list of what we can't do is much longer than what we can. And we are very happy and proud of that.
I think I'm taking back a business lesson today. This would be, for me at least, a business lesson, defining your non-negotiables. My last question to close out the podcast is, what is the one best piece of advice that you've had in your life?
So many years, that many actually. Single best, if I have to select, is simple, is keep in touch. Don't lose connect. And along with it was, don't forget anybody who's contributed to your life or has touched your life. And this is my first boss who actually told me this. And he also added one more statement to it, is that the higher you go up the corporate hierarchy, the more effort you have to take to connect to the guy at the bottom. And if you are able to connect to the guy at the bottom of the pyramid, then you will do everything right in your life.
You have to keep in touch.
If you want to be successful or you want to be a good leader, you've got to take that effort. Otherwise, it's very easy to get success in your mind and go up and forget about everything. Don't forget, if you become a partner in a law firm, you started as an associate.
Of course.
And you don't...
Probably even an intern.
Yes, exactly. And you know exactly what happens.
Yes.
If you are able to connect with an associate in your team and you will be able to actually relate with him, that person will respect you for...
Lovely. Had such a good time talking to you. I hope you had a good time.
I had a fantastic
time. And
I have just kind of spoken very freely.
Yeah.
Whether that's the right and appropriate, or is it the right way to do it? But
no, of course. That's the whole purpose. At least that's the whole purpose of us. We just want to bring real conversations to the world. And I know I struggled. I've burnt money trying to find investigators, as I have told you offline. I have burnt money finding names who gave me nothing. Luckily, I don't have anything to investigate at the moment. So, I have a vested interest in bringing conversations like this to the world and to this audience that we have. Thank you so much. Anything you want to say? Anything we've forgotten? Anything you want to
I think we've covered quite
a bit?
Ground. Yeah. Quite a bit of ground. But yes, there's lots more that can be spoken about. But we are conscious of the time today.
Aaj ke rehta. But we will keep in touch.
Absolutely.
We'll keep in touch.
You're welcome to come and visit us.
Yeah.
And the story repository keeps increasing.
I know. Like that. But thank you so much for being part of the Daily Lawyer podcast. Thank you all for listening. Please keep sending in your suggestions, because we do consider all of them very, very seriously. And until next time, keep following us, keep subscribing, and I'll see you in the next episode.